For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm Jacob Jones. The BRANDT field advisor. I work with the Towanda, Cooksville, and Cropsey locations. Also spend good majority of time during the winter up here in Lexington at our seed treater that we've had now for 2 years and have had good success with. So just start off with a little question from you guys. How many of you guys planted corn last year that was treated? I would expect to see about every hand come up. How many of you guys planted soybeans last year that were treated? Well, you guys all did, so I don't have anything to talk about now. So. Now, first just want to kind of talk, seed treatment is kind of the base I want to look at. After we've got our fertility in line, we're starting to pick our hybrids and varieties. And I think the seed treatment is a good base for soybean production to get you started. I kind of want to reference it towards the seat belt. Every time you get in the truck, you've got an option to put that seat belt on. You don't know what's going to come around the next corner, but by wearing your seat belt, more than likely it's going to increase your chances of survival. Well, seed treatment's a lot the same way. We don't know what Mother Nature is going to throw at us every year when we go. We expect to get in the field and plant beans late April, first part of May. You know, this year was the end of May, and it was still cooler, wetter soils. So by having that seed treatment, we were able to better survive what Mother Nature threw at us this year. So first, just starting off, I went ahead and dug a couple plants here this morning. Here is from our Poncho Vote Evo seed treatment, and this is from our untreated check. I don't know if you can see, I can pass a few of these around, but just if you can see the differences. Now, that's our untreated and our Poncho Vote Evo. We also offer our fungicide only. That's just going to be a base fungicide treatment. It's going to protect you from those early seedling diseases and get you started off good and early. Next, we have our fungicide insecticide. We're going to add the insecticide into there, which that's going to come out with the soybean plant as it emerges and protect us from our bean leaf beetles and other early season pests that we're going to be looking to control. Now, what I call our Cadillac seed treatment, some for you guys to look at. It's the untreated and the Poncho Vote Evo. What we kind of call our Cadillac, but it's your fungicide, insecticide, plus the Poncho Vote Evo, which is a nematode control. And in our study down here, we actually threw Graphex, which is an inoculant, in with it as well. So what the Poncho Vote Evo is going to do, the Poncho you're all familiar with from, a lot of your corn's been treated with in years past, but it's an insecticide. And then the Vote Evo aspect of things, it's a bacteria that is on those roots. It's going to continue to grow with that plant throughout its life cycle. What's it do? Well, it's competing in the same space as, most importantly, the soybean cyst nematode. That's the big one we're trying to control. It's going to compete for the same space and nutrients and give us better control. So I went ahead and did some pod counts on these. Average from the 3 plants from our untreated to our Poncho Vote Evo, the untreated was 38 pods. The Poncho Vote Evo, 56. So we don't know exactly what Mother Nature is going to give us here in the next couple of weeks to go ahead and fill those pods out, but the stage has been set from early on with our additional stand and healthier plants that we have that potential for higher bean yield. Also, we've seen results last year. Iowa State did a study in a hot, dry year. Nematodes increased by 25-fold because we didn't have any moisture. So by having the additional protection, we saw last year, can't expect this every year, but down at Pleasant Plains, it was 11 bushel for Poncho Vote Evo versus untreated. Up here, it was 9 bushel. Now in 2011, more of a normal growing year, the Poncho Vote Evo was 8 bushel, and it was 4 bushel better than just your standard insecticide fungicide. And down south, it was 6 bushel better. So really, we've seen great results. These are replicated trials. You can see here we've got 35 33s, 38 32s. Going to be our 2 lead beans that we're going to move forward with next year. We've got the different treatments throughout, and they were also treated with a foliar fungicide and insecticide. And that's the next thing I kind of want to talk about is the fungicide and insecticide over the top of beans. We've really seen good results out of it. A lot of guys are using a fungicide over the top of the beans, but we've seen just that additional plant stress relief by throwing the insecticide there as well. You know, we're talking 2 or 3 bushel there just by adding the insecticide. We've got manufacturers of our fungicide products that are telling us just to go ahead and throw that insecticide in there with it because it makes the fungicide look that much better. And then Brad later on is going to talk about bee molly is another product you can add in there as well at the same time. The other thing I'm going to hit on, down there we passed it, and it's supposed to be the soybean style, but I'm going to talk about soil applied insecticide on traded corn. I know it's kind of a hot topic right now, especially in our area. We have seen a lot more pressure, and what do you guys think is due to the cause of that? You know, do you think the traits are failing? I don't really think so. There has been confirmed resistance. I think that is part of an issue, but we've got so much more pressure out there. Every one of those rootworms has to take a bite. We're getting the increased pressure. That's why we're thinking that the trait is starting to fail, but you know, every hybrid's different. It's going to regenerate roots differently. So did we notice anything about the rootworm hatch this year? Did we have to spray insecticide when we were tasseling corn, when we were going with fungicide? No, it was a lot later hatch this year. Well, a lot of you guys, if you were walking fields last year, probably about broke your ankle in some of the cracks that we had out there. Well, that rootworm beetle last year, when it laid its eggs, it lays its eggs in moisture. So it had to go even deeper this past year to lay its eggs. Well, in April, you know, we had 6-7 inch rains. What eggs did get laid in that top portion of the soil had been hatched, and we were able to drown out those larvae. But we're also a lot cooler. Those eggs are going to hatch based off of heat units. It took us longer for those eggs that were laid deeper in the soil profile to become mature enough to hatch into the larvae, and then it took them that much further to reach towards the top. So we didn't have to really worry about an insecticide application as we move through tassel. But we may want to look for control in the future, you know, right around now, especially on some of this later planted corn. If you're noticing, we're seeing a lot more females out there right now that are getting ready to lay their eggs. It may be a good management strategy as we move into the future to go ahead and hit that field again with an insecticide. Just as we set our stage for next year, we won't have nearly as many eggs that are hatched. So I kind of got off topic there, but back to the insecticide on trait. If you look at it, we feel comfortable with recommending that you need to have at least 2 modes of action to protect that corn plant. One being a trait and one being a soil applied insecticide. Now we do have options with our double stack corn that you have 2 modes of action there, and some people may even give you a credit for single trait on soybean stubble. But we're seeing a lot more instances of the variant rootworm laying eggs into the soybean field, so you may not count that credit moving forward. So not only with the soil applied insecticide you get control rootworm, you're also there's a synergy through controlling other secondary pests, you know, your seed corn maggots, white grubs,